Hey, it's Nikki. We have a podcast on our network called Working Forward. It's all about future of work topics. And there's a special series that we do in the People Forward Network community, myself with our Chief Strategy Officer, Jason Cochran, and we break down the inner workings of People Forward Network and how we're doing some things to really model the way of what it's like to lead and live out what it means to be a people forward organization. So I hope that you enjoy the special bonus episode that I recorded with my dear pal, Jason Cochran.
Welcome to Working Forward Conversations, a special live, unfiltered episode hosted inside the PFN community where we explore bold, working forward ideas we adopt and use here at People Forward Network. Enjoy. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everybody in the PFN community. We are here for another Working Forward conversation where we take you behind the scenes of how we do things at People Forward Network around our culture. And I've got our founder and CEO, Nikki Llewellyn-Gregory, with me. Nikki, how you doing?
Great. I always love these conversations, Jason. I'm so glad that we do them. My energy always feels so good coming on because I'm like, oh, I love this topic. Oh, I love this topic. And this is another one. I love today's topic.
So you could say this one is a hell yes topic for you.
It is.
Kidding aside, it is about making hell yes decisions. And I'll tell you, Nikki, kicking this off, one of the things that I love about our culture and the culture code that you helped create is I had never really heard about this concept until you shared it with me. And then it became part and parcel of who PFN is this concept of requiring hell yes decisions. I love that concept. And so we're going to dig into that today. So maybe let's start here. How did you first come across this concept? How did you start thinking about it? And how did it become ingrained in part of who we are at PFN?
So a dear friend of mine that I call a soul friend, we're like soul connected for life, Des Garcia. Desiree, she goes by Des. She's been involved and is involved in People Forward Network, dear friend. She's been one of my greatest teachers. She's the coach. She's brilliant. My husband adores her. She's like our personal yogi, if you will, for just like centering life. But she taught me this in my mid to late 20s. And once I understood the concept, first of all, I just latched onto it, but then it's just become more and more true for me. And Jason, thanks to you, you kind of set the stage for this today. And I went back and just did some digging, like, where did this come from? Of course, I knew it was Des, but like, why is this so important to me? And I think over time it's continued to evolve, but I'll just give you the quick and dirty real quick. And please take this and adopt it. Anyone that's listening, I promise it will change your life. Number one, life is short and time is one resource that we will never get back. So don't waste it. It needs to be a clear yes to use the minutes in my life. That's how I look at things now. That's time. The other side is energy. Our energy is so precious and fuels everything. Like when we have the energy, like this topic today, I love this topic and I have so much energy for it. It's a hell yes. But energy is so precious and protect that energy so fiercely. So therefore, hell yes, aligned with the energy. Alignment over obligation. I don't know how many times you've thought I need to do this and it's like a guilt thing versus an alignment thing. Know your North Star, your why, your values, and then make decisions that way. So doing the homework on, our why and North Star, our core values, that's really important work. That will help you understand what's a hell yes versus a hell no. And then helps you to get rid of the like guilt or whatever. You just feel freer when you say no to things. And then finally, having boundaries because you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. It protects your space, right? And the more times we say no to things, the more it frees up time for our yeses. So I could probably go on, but that's my quick and dirty, and I highly recommend it.
And it's one of those things based off your description that like, if you don't know your identity, if you don't know your why, it's going to be really challenging to try and know what your hell yeses and your hell nos are.
That's right.
In fact, my guess is probably most everything looks gray. We're just like, okay, I'm just kind of going with the wind. I'm not sure if this is a hell yes or a hell no. And the reason I bring that up is because, part of who we are at PFN is we believe strongly in the Why.OS system from the Why Institute. And that's such a key component in getting to understand people and what motivates them. And a lot of times, if you don't have that type of clarity into who you are and the things that motivate you and the types of things that bring you energy, then it's going to be really challenging this type of exercise we're going through today and we're talking about of understanding what those hell yeses and those hell nos are. The other thing that this made me think of too, Nikki, is you and Ashley just went out to Boston last week.
Yeah.
Boston, but you went to a Mel Robbins event and you came back and you shared some learnings with the team. And I think some of those things that we learned about from you and Ashley that we've been talking about relate to this also. So,
Yeah.
setting the stage up for you, share a little bit of that trip with Mel Robbins and how maybe some of the things Mel Robbins was sharing fits into this picture, this schema of hell yes and hell no decisions too.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. This book that she launched, Let Them, has just taken off. It's incredible how many people have sent her over the time since this book launched very recently. They've tattooed the concept on their body. I mean, tons of people across the world have tattoos on their body of Let Them because it has changed their life so much. And I think it does coincide clearly with this is, this concept of when we know ourselves and our North Star and who we are, we can let go of the why are they doing that? Or what are they doing? Or whatever they said that is rubbing you the wrong way. You just let them because why do we carry that? Like, why are we even concerned with that? Let it go. Right. And just a really powerful concept. The thing I will say about Mel Robbins that is so clear 5 minutes after she walked out on that stage, not even talking about the book yet or anything. You can just tell the level of intentionality that Mel brings to her life and why so many follow her is this intentionality. And I feel like, hell yes, is this really intentional way of living? But Mel was sharing, she gave a tote bag and a journal. And she talked about how much they went back and forth on the tote bag, the color, the handles, and how low they were. She had remembered, times when like she had a tote bag and it was like so annoying because it was like scratching her side. Like the level of time they took on the length of the tote bag, the color of the tote bag, the journal, and on the front, the image was her handwriting. She wanted that journal to be so special that when you saw it, you're like, this is a personal note from me, not just a logo. And just this high intentionality. And so all of this, like hell yes, or Let Them or Mel Robbins or whatever, it just comes back to this very intentional living. And that also goes to the first point I made about hell yes is time is so precious and we have to be intentional so that we're really maximizing this precious life that we get, you know?
That's right. And so this principle, it applies to every part of life,
Yeah.
right? So I know we're talking about like it applies to some of the personal stuff too, of like there may be just certain relationships or certain types of people where it's like, I got to let them be. But let's zoom in and focus specifically when we think about work. Like maybe how does this type of concept apply when we're thinking about it in terms of who we're working with, like our partners?
Oh, goodness gracious, that's so important. So we will honestly make decisions as a team about the partners. We call our clients partners, as maybe some of you have picked up on. We believe that, it's not like we're not a vendor relationship that's taking tickets or orders from people, right? Like we are in this together when things don't go well, or, our contract says this, but, life happened and we didn't necessarily get to do it that way. And so we're giving each other leeway. We're human, right? And so, from that perspective, being able to align with people that share our same way of thinking. Like, if you're going to see us as a vendor relationship and treat us as a transaction, we're going to sniff that out in the beginning and like, it's not a hell yes. Like, and we're going to make that decision. And everyone on our team has the opportunity to voice that. Someone may have had a conversation, not everybody was on it. They picked up on something. They're sharing a story about what they felt and it's bringing to light that, ooh, red flag, you know? And that might be in bringing on a new partner, but during the course of being in partnership, let's say we didn't see any of that, but down the road, it's just not aligned. Like something like we start to see how they're maybe treating people and it's like, hey, I know we have a contract, on our side, it's our contract to be paid and delivered, has nothing to do with the work. But right now it's feeling like this is just not flowing and to call that because again, time is precious. And who wants to work on a project for a partner that's just checked the box? Nobody wants to do that. Like, I'm just getting it done, right? They're never going to do above and beyond work or think outside the box. because it's just getting it done. So yeah, we brought this in as our culture now. We require hell yes decisions where we say no. So, like you were saying, Jason, it applies in all areas of life. I was talking about my personal life and journey. Now, as a team, it's part of our culture. Think about it in your fitness, in your what you eat. That let's say that you struggle with dairy products, but you really love ice cream. You know, you eat that ice cream and you have to think in advance intentionally, how am I going to feel? It's probably not a hell yes, even though the ice cream sounds good, right? And so it can just apply in all areas.
Unless they're going to cheat and they're going to take some lactate
Yeah.
pills ahead of time and be like, I know I'm going to cheat. I want to do this. So I'm going to take my lactate pills ahead of time. But that's not a good approach,
Way.
right? The other way, I think, as you were speaking, Nikki, on this, I know it has helped me with us at PFN and an endeavor we've been refining is our value proposition in the market. You know, that we're not just a podcast production company. We're results. We're a results relationship driven company.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I think that this principles really helped us is to understand that, you know, if we have certain prospects in our funnel that all they're looking for is they just want podcast production and they're not looking for community, they're not looking for tying it to results, it's probably not going to be a hell yes for us because those things are part and parcel of who we are, our DNA. It's a big part of our unique value proposition. And so I think that it's really helped us get some clarity around our value proposition in the market to understand who are those ideal clients that we are positioned really well to work with, and also understand and see those signs that if it's really just kind of like more of a commodity play of like, no, I just need these episodes produced kind of thing, then there's probably other groups that'll do it for really, 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 really cheap. That's going to be a better fit than coming along with us, where we're saying, yes, you got to get them produced, but you also need to be thinking about building community to get to know who your listeners are.
Right.
And you also need to be thinking about strategically how it's tied to the results that need to drive your business forward. And
Totally.
so it's brought a lot of clarity for us that way too, I think.
Oh, 100%. All the way around.
So with the hell yes decisions, there's also the hell no. There's probably a lot of people that are like, you know, sometimes we talked about that gray area sometimes where there can be that I'm not sure what it is. Are there some tips, tricks, things that you've learned over time that have really helped hone in your radar for being able to dial in those judgments of, yeah, I can discern that this really is a hell yes or this is a hell no, so that something doesn't kind of dwell on that gray area for too long?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in two sides. I don't know the technical terms here, but you can feel it if it feels mm, or maybe, and the or the maybe is not a hell yes. Like the whole feeling of hell yes is like yes, right? So that's one side. It's just that feeling state of trust your gut. You can feel that alignment. The other side would be you got to do your homework, going back to what you were saying, Jason, about just our own personal understanding of who we are, our why, using Why.OS. All of our team members use that. Really understanding whether it's ourselves or our business, the core, like the purpose, the North Star, because that helps you make the decision. When you know your why and your core values and all that, it's the same thing for a person as it is a company, as it is I don't know the other example, but it really helps you to then make that, and it's spot on. Let's say in sales, like, which is a piece of business. So we know our ideal client profile, like our ICP, right? And it's got components to us, got components to it. We are not going to try to shove a square peg into a round hole if there's five different components, but only three of them match, but the other two are off. I did my homework. I know my ICP, and these two don't fit. That's not a hell yes. That's a no. But I had to do the homework in advance to know that.
And as you do that, it kind of hones your gut. And
Yeah.
then you'll start figuring out that your intuition and your gut, more times than not, is probably going to be pretty accurate. I guess it's not all too different now that I think about it in terms of how we train AI. The information that we're able to give the AI and train it helps hone it and develop it to where it's more accurate and makes better predictions. And probably the same is true of our gut and our instincts. The more that we're able to give it that type of information and know what type of signals we're looking for, the more accurate our radar can be for those things. So thinking about this, so we talked about how it kind of helps us understand our unique value proposition. We've talked a little bit in terms of how it helps us understand what type of clients. Has there ever been a situation where maybe it's been on the other side where someone has told us like it's not a hell yes for us with the way that you do things at PFN necessarily, where it was like, okay, well, that's good to know where we kind of moved on. Has it
Yeah.
ever been like that direction too?
That's a really good point to bring up, and you feel freed and not, I don't know what the word is, you don't take it personal because you know who you are, they know who they are, and so if the alignment isn't there and they're seeing that first, it's almost like you're grateful for it, and you can just accept that so much better because we're not aligned, and therefore you were talking about, like, podcasting earlier, and let's say that a prospect, they've got all the business they can possibly want. This is really just a storytelling effort for them. They don't need new business development. So we're going to be 5 or 10x the cost because we're an engine for revenue growth through relationships. And so they may start to see that first. We don't know the information that they've got this core partner that feeds them all their new business. They notice this and bring it up, and we're like, let me refer you to a friend of ours that is so good at just podcast production, like, that is their sweet spot, technical work in that, and then they're like, "Thank you. Like, you didn't try to sell me on this?" And it's completely okay. The other side that I was thinking is, so you said if someone notices the no first, it's just spring because we know who we are and whatever, and there's just no, what is that feeling of, where some people would feel if someone said, "No, I don't wanna work with
Oh,
you."
like offended?
Offended, that's the word. Like, you don't feel offended because you both just know who you are and you know your truth. On the other side of things, I was thinking about, you're in something, you're in it, you're doing it, and it's not a hell yes. You're down the path, you're at the meeting, you drove there, you're in the meeting, and you're sitting there, and you're like, "Why am I here?" Right? One example would be, "Why am I here? Because this is not a good use of my time." Another is, let's say that it's a 5:30 PM evening event. You said yes to it, you have a family at home. Sometimes it definitely warrants going to these things, and you have to pick, it's, where you're gonna be. But let's say you didn't do your homework, you're at this thing, and just people that aren't aligned with you, and you're missing out on precious time with your favorite people on the planet. That feeling sucks. And I have had that so many freaking times. I can remember jobs where I've had a lot of this in my life because I learned the lesson early on, but I'm doing work that I feel like is either soul sucking or I'm wasting my talents or whatever. And it's that feeling of like, ugh, you're wasting your life. And that's just the worst. That's the opposite is what we're going for.
And that leads to the path of like disengagement, which we hear
Yes.
about all the time really quickly whenever that happens. The other thing that you brought up that I think is a good thing for leaders to think about is the reason the hell yes decisions are really important too is you alluded to it, but there's a tax that you pay as a team if you don't have something around this concept of hell yes, because you'll end up getting a lot more yeses on things that you should be saying no to. And inevitably, what will happen when that happens is all of a sudden the energy is going to feel off with the
Yes.
team. You're going to be getting a lot of complaints. It's going to be a squeaky wheel. There's going to be a misalignment. Things are not going to be in flow. And then that is going to be a domino effect that then drains team members to then have energy and show up their best for your other partners that are hell yeses.
Totally.
And so the reason this is also important is not just because of the initial like contract, but there's a tax that it can pay on morale, on energy levels, on productivity, on overall feel within your culture. If you end up saying yes to too many things that actually should probably be a no out of the gate, once you're able to kind of like know what your signals or your detectors are of like, oh, the numbers on this contract look pretty nice. But if we're making some concessions, if we kind of feel in our gut, like, but this isn't a fully a hell yes, it's just wise, I think, for leaders to think to look beyond the numbers and to consider that. that if your gut or if you have team members who are sharing some of those gut reactions where it just doesn't feel aligned, to give space and time to think through those carefully, because otherwise it can end up being something that is taxing over time, and it'll end up costing more than the actual contractual value that you got from the agreement.
Here's a real loud one that I just want to throw out that Jason, I know you know this very well. Misfit hires on the team for culture alignment. You bring someone in, and you've heard this analogy of like one bad egg ruins the bunch or something like that. It's so true. And when you really have to think about, this is another angle of know your homework of who you are and the type of person that you're looking for, and it's tough, right? It's you really got to be good at asking the right questions for the alignment because man, you're spending so many hours with your team, and when you've got one person that comes along, and it might not even be, it's not like they're a bad person. It's just that it wasn't fit for the culture, and you've got to really take your time on that. People say hire slow, fire fast. It's very smart because if it's not a hell yes fit for the team, what you were saying is the example that was coming to mind that we've had this at People Forward Network. Not that they're bad people. It just, you know, the day that we were like, yeah, we're done here, they were like, thank God. And we were like, thank God, right? It just because the alignment
Right.
wasn't there.
That's so
Big
good.
one.
And that's another layer too that we hadn't talked about yet. But yes, this culture code of hell yes, it absolutely has to do with talent acquisition. And then I think on the other side of that too, we haven't touched on this yet. So maybe this is the last piece that we cover here. Is this hell yes requiring hell yes decisions also is the fit between the right person in the right seat, as it's called a lot of times, talent optimization. So making sure that once we know people's strengths, we understand their why. Do we have them equipped for success in terms of the actual roles, the jobs, the things that are going to be flow state for them? Now, I don't want anyone to miss here. Like for everyone in their job, including you, Nikki, as the founder and CEO, there's certain things that are dirty diapers, as we often call them,
Yeah.
right? There's always going to be those components. But for the most part, we really try to make sure that it's a hell yes fit for our team members around the primary focus and responsibilities that's flowy for them based off of what we know about our team members. So speak to us about that too, of like how we think about hell yes decisions once we bring our team members in, around how we really try to set them up for success around the role and really try to design the role around their strengths.
Yeah. When you can align someone's strengths and their why with their role and unlock this person's, going back to energy, right? When we are aligned for the best fit role, our energy and how we show up, it's like they're lighter, they're more creative. Even if they're not a natural creative, they are because they're in the right place. That's totally hell yes. I'll give an example. So when Chelsea started with People Forward Network, I don't know if you know the story or not, Jason, but when she started, she was in business development. So that was the role she was in, business development work. Chelsea today through the process, like we didn't know it at the time. It was more of a, she was in a really challenging, sucky job and really liked her. And it was like, here's all I got. Like, if you want to do this, and she's like, yes, anything. I just want to be part of. And so for her at that time, whatever the role was to get to this next place and to work at PFN was a hell yes. And then we've taken it and shifted her and through the Why.OS, which it's Why.OS through the Y Institute. If you want to look that up, anybody that's listening, so powerful. We use this so we understand our why, how, what. Each one gives a word. So you've got kind of like in strengths, you have your top 5 or top 10 out of 34 different strengths. So with any assessment profile, it's the kind of thing it is. So you take your Why.OS and your strengths, and we're constantly honing in and optimizing that. And we've talked here about how AI just really helps because it's got all the data and research of really understanding people to really hone them in. But that's really when you start to see the hell yes of someone in that talent optimization epicenter, if you will, they just come to life. And so today, because of Why.OS and many conversations and strengths, Chelsea leads our operations. She is like simplicity at the finest, step by step. One of the big reasons people quit podcasting is because it's so overwhelming. There's so many steps. She is the person on our team that takes it and puts it into a technology that step by step and it just makes it simple, and she just shines. And it's just natural. She's like, "Oh, that's so easy." And I'm like, "If I had to do that, I would just that high detail stuff is not me." But she's just in that opposite of business development, over in ops and crushing it.
And that's a good reminder too. Like you can't put people in a box. Like if you're making hiring decisions and you're just looking at pieces of paper, you're missing out.
Yes. Yeah.
Resumes, they capture some things, but like you need to get to know like the whole person. And I'm
Mhm.
grateful that's one of the things we do. One of the main things we do really well at PFN is we really try to think well about that and see the whole person and lead with that culture lens. And one of those is making sure that it's a hell yes decision before moving forward around those things. And that's a really cool story, the evolution of Chelsea on our team, of what it started at to what it has morphed into now. And I think more organizations, if you move away from a lot of the rigidity and you think about the people, the things that make them who they are, where they really shine, then you'll figure out that a lot of times just pigeonholing into like a specific role of some kind, sometimes that can be to a detriment. Yes, everyone needs to have some clarity around where their focus needs to be, but sometimes that might mean their skill set, what they're really good at. Like let's use Chelsea an example with operations. That means sometimes she might be helping with onboarding.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's helping with things that have to do with community operations. Sometimes she's helping with revenue operations, right? So it's kind of cross functional, and that skill set comes across those other teams. Doesn't mean that she leads all of those things, but she's coming across to collaborate and really oversee operations across those different departments. And I think that's the type of flexible work that Deloitte in particular has talked a lot about, is that that's going to be more the future of work, is instead of just saying, this is your very rigid job description, this is where you play, this is the only lane that you're in. It's like, no, let's understand your skill set. Let's understand three parts of the mind of who you are. And then let's get you using those things as much as possible. And it may be that you're doing it in the various different types of departments in the organization. And I think to a certain extent that that's like an extrapolation of this hell yes, requiring hell yes decisions, is let's make sure we're setting people up for success to not be going against the grain and going against their flow. Let's set them up to be doing more of the stuff that they're great at and where they shine, even if it's cross departmental in different things.
I love it.
Nikki, as we get ready to wrap up, what else you got for us as we think about hell yes decisions? Any summaries that you want to share with the listeners?
I just encourage you to think about how this applies to you. And if it's a new thing, you're like, "Ooh, I like this new concept." Really do the work on understanding who you are and what you stand for, because that's going to help make everything else easier. So it's like, go check out the Why.OS, your why, how, what, know your core values. If you're looking to sharpen, I would encourage you to think about which part of this today can you go apply it. Like, have you ever brought it into your culture on your team? Have you thought about it for hiring? Like, figure out how to apply it in a new area. So it's been fun.
I love that. And it makes me think of, do you ever watch Seinfeld? Did you ever watch Seinfeld back in the day?
A little bit. I'm familiar.
So George Costanza's character, he would say, it's not me, it's you. Before you pull off the whole, like, it's not me, it's got to be you type thing when it comes to how he said, you better make sure you know yourself first. And that's what you're talking about, Nikki, is you can't really be making clear hell yes and hell no decisions unless you look in the mirror first and you do the work to understand who you are and what you're looking for and who you can best serve and who you jive with. So great reminder there. As we get ready to wrap up, we want you to make this a hell yes episode. Make sure you watch it and listen to it, put it on rewind and take away some of the insights, and reach out to us if you ever have any questions. Nikki, it's been a blast.
Thanks, Jason.
See you. Thanks for being part of this special Working Forward conversation. Want to join us live next time? Head over to bit.ly/PFN community to join our PFN community and become part of the conversation that's driving what's next in work and leadership. See you there.